Hello, how is everyone doing? Ignore the crazy hair, I have just washed it. Now, today is a Sunday and it's also a rest day, and I thought I would show you what sorts of things I tend to eat at the moment whilst in a deficit, whilst on, well, I am on prep. I am preparing for my bodybuilding shows later on this year. So I was just going to show you what I tend to eat on a rest day, what my rest day tends to look like in terms of food. Now, one thing I do want to highlight is everything that I eat is something that works for me. When it comes to the calories, etc., everything is designed specifically for me and what is going to put my body in deficit. That doesn't mean that is something that is going to work for you, and those amounts are not necessarily something that might work for you. However, maybe the way I cook different things might be something that can give you some ideas as to what you could do with your foods to keep things nice and interesting. Now remember to share, like, and most importantly, subscribe so I can continue to keep this channel going. But yeah, let's crack on with the day. So I have already done my cardio this morning and a little bit of walking as well. So my steps are already started, feeling great. It's nearly time for me to make my meal one, but I thought I'd share something with you first. So I know some of you were interested in following my journey when it comes to building my Lego set that I have bought. However, 2 weeks ago, I have come to a little bit of an issue where I needed, if you can hopefully see this, a good few of these pieces here. I ended up with loads of spare hinges, if this focuses. Focus. There we go. I ended up with loads of these that I had no use for. So yeah. So I had the joy of having to contact Lego and ask for some replacement parts. And it only took 2 weeks. Unfortunately, they handpick the parts that you need in Denmark, and it just takes a while. But guess what? Literally bang on 2 weeks, I have received my missing parts, so I can continue with my Lego set and get cracking with that. I definitely have missed it. To be honest, the lady who spoke to me from Lego, who was sorting out the replacement parts for me, has been quite good, and they sent me a little camera set thing that I could build. It literally took me like an hour, but, well, an hour in total. But it was something, you know, at the end of the day, I wasn't able to do my Lego for quite a bit. So it was nice of them not to do that. But yes, I'm looking forward to being able to sort out my Lego now, be able to continue with my Lego build, with my tower. But for now, it's time to have my first meal of the day. So on the rest day, my meal one consists of eggs, egg whites, veggies, sourdough bread, plus some fruit as well. So let me get started with that. Now, a lot of people say, why do you weigh your veggies? And, you know, a normal person might not necessarily have to weigh veggies, but when it comes to learning portion control, and for example, if you're like me and you are in a deficit right now, it's very easily done where you start getting a little bit hungrier and you start putting more and more veggies into your foods. And where, in terms of calories, that's not a bad thing to do. You're not increasing a lot of calories. But if you want to be in a deficit, you might be minimizing the deficit that you are in. Plus, not to mention that you might be eating so much fiber, they can cause some tummy issues, and it can go either direction with those as well. So that is just something to bear in mind. And then when it comes to, for example, wanting to grow muscle, eating more, a lot of times when you start eating more, people start skipping veggies as well. And we want to stay nice and consistent when it comes to veggies. So again, weighing those veggies, it doesn't mean that I'm just paranoid, oh my god, you know, 1 gram over with my mushroom, for example. No, that's not the case. It can help in terms of understanding, you know, am I having all the veggies that I should be having for the day, and am I not adding any sort of additional calories just because I am hungry whilst in a deficit. here's a little hack for you. If you find you don't have loads and loads of spinach in one go and it wilts and goes off, just pop it in the freezer, and whilst you're cooking, literally a few seconds and it's already defrosted essentially, and that way it keeps for longer. So here we go, that is my meal number one. So starting off with eggs, I've got 150 grams of egg whites, 2 eggs, 100 grams of veggies. I've got 50 grams of sauerkraut hiding here as well, 80 grams of bread and 50 grams of blueberries. I've got salt on here, I've got some pepper and some sugar-free ketchup as well, and that is meal one. I'm watching a stream, so there is a pro qualifier in Sweden today, so I'm just giving that a watch, seeing how people are getting on. One of Meg's clients is actually on stage right now in figure, which is super exciting, so I'm just watching that. And yeah, I'm going to crack on with some more work, and then there will probably be time for meal 2. So I'm about to make my meal 2. I'm actually not going to have my usual meal 2, but have one of my late meals, which is cream of rice. I just really fancy something sweet, so I'm going to have my usual chicken potatoes a little bit later on and have my cream of rice now, because I just really crave something sweet. Ladies probably understand me with my cycle coming up. I'm not really a sweets person. I'm not one to crave super sweet things. I'm not really like a chocolate person, but just before my cycle I do get cravings for some things that I wouldn't usually want necessarily as well. So yeah, cream of rice is for the next meal to satisfy that sweet tooth. I'll show you how I make that. Peach is just outside. We bought her a paddling pool and she absolutely loves it, but the only issue is now if we let her out late at night or early in the morning, she always ends up doing a little dip. So we just always have to have a towel at the back door to make sure that we can dry it off, because she absolutely loves it. Hello. Ignore the state of the grass, which is clearly very dead. Hello, miss. Hello, miss. Peachy. Do you like your paddling pool? Yeah. I have still got the Sweden pro qualifier on. So they had pre-judging earlier on, they had a little break, and now I'm watching the finals. Oh, no, that's not how we're adjusting. Okie dokie, now I'm going to make my cream of rice. A lot of people don't like cream of rice, and I think the issue is they don't put enough effort into actually making it and making it nice. What I'm going to do is actually put my hair up so I don't end up with hair in my cream of rice, because that would be less than ideal. But yes, when it comes to cream of rice, let me just mute this. People getting the pro cards, which is very exciting. But when it comes to cream of rice, it's the effort that you put into making it that is actually going to make it nice. So let me get my cream of rice of choice. The one that I wanted, I'm not going to have enough. So I'm going to go for complete strength coconut cream, which is quite nice. I wanted something chocolatey, again, to satisfy that sweet tooth, but I ain't got anything. So there's that. I need to make an order and get some supplements ordered. So, I'm making a mess. 50 grams. Lovely stuff. Now, I'm going to add water to this, and the key when it comes to adding water to cream of rice is you want around 4:1 ratio in terms of how much water you want to the cream of rice powder. If you want to make it a little bit more voluminous, you can add a little bit more water. It might take a little bit longer to make. If you want it a little bit denser, you can add a little bit less. But that 4:1 ratio is a really, really great start. So, oh, actually, I'm going to add my salt, then add water, and I'll come back to you. So here I have put in about 350 water. Hopefully I haven't added too much. I wanted to add about 300, but I got a bit happy with the water. But I'm going to use a fork. We can also use a whisk. Whisk is absolutely perfect when it comes to making a really nice cream of rice, making sure that it's nice and smooth, because there's nothing worse than making gritty cream of rice. So I'm mixing the powder. I'm going to chuck in the microwave for about 2 minutes. I'm going to take it out, mix it again, put it in for another half a minute or a minute, depends on, I'll see how thick it is. Take it out, mix it again, and that's the thing. You need to be patient with this in order to make cream of rice nice. It's not like chucking in the microwave and it comes out ready. That's how you get gritty cream of rice, and like that's how you get a lumpy cream of rice. And I hope you can hear me because my mic turned. But yes, 2 minutes in and we'll see how we go. So, as you can see, this is the perfect cream of rice consistency. It did take me a little bit longer to make just because I've added a little bit more water, but like I said, I just wanted to make it a little bit more voluminous to keep me fuller for a little bit longer. Whilst I was waiting for that to cook, I weighed out my isolate. So this is 35 grams of Naughty Boy. It's a chocolate brownie isolate that I'm currently trying out. It's quite nice. I'm not sure if you can see. I've literally added a tiny little bit of water and I'm going to mix it now. Ooh, gosh. And hopefully not lose any isolate whilst I'm doing this and see how I get on. That's the thing with isolates. You add water and it literally, you can see it like dissolving in front of you. So if you add too much, it just ends up dead watery. So I need a little bit more. See, there we go. When I started mixing, it was like a lump stuck to my spoon. And now it's like a paste, which I'm going to put on my cream of rice. So there we have it. That's my cream of rice. So that is 50 grams of cream of rice, 15 grams of dark chocolate, which I've put on top to melt, 50 grams of frozen blueberries, 35 grams of isolate, and a sprinkling of cinnamon on top as well. That is literally one of my favourite meals ever. And like I said, I added a little bit more water just so it's a little bit more filling. And so I'm going to go and eat that in the sunshine, carry on watching the pro qualifier. I think they moved on to wellness now as well, which is super exciting. But yeah, sit in the sun because the weather is so nice, and then go in and just crack on with some other things I need to get on with. Look at that perfectly melted chocolate and that absolutely perfect cream of rice. Spoonful. Chocolate all over me. So if I've got chocolate all around my mouth, you are welcome, because this is a sight not to be missed. Now, I always make an effort to move around a little bit after I've eaten. So rather than just being sat there doing nothing, I move around, you know, even if that is putting the pots away, putting them in the dishwasher, doing a little bit of something in the house, you know, or playing with Peach, whatever it might be. Because one thing to remember when it comes to moving around after eating, it's help manage your blood glucose. It helps your metabolic health overall. Plus, it stops you from eating out of boredom. How many of you have been sat at a table, finished eating, especially when it comes to things like Christmas, you know, there's food on the table, you finished eating, and you're just there, and you're just chatting away, you finished your plate, and then you go, oh, actually, I'll have a little bit more of something. You've already had your plate, and after you've had it, that first instance, that was enough for you. What you're doing now is eating out of boredom. It actually takes our brain about 20 minutes, half an hour to feel satiated, for it to get the signal to say, okay, you are full now, you don't need to carry on eating. So that's why it's important to start moving around after you've eaten, because it helps your digestion as well. Apart from that boredom, so not eating out of boredom, it helps your digestion. So if you think about what you've just eaten, sit in your stomach, and my bin is getting involved. What you've eaten sits in your stomach. Without moving around, it just sits there and slowly makes its way through the stomach acid. Once you start moving around, everything starts moving in your stomach. Everything starts to get, you know, what's the word that I'm looking for? Covered in the stomach acid. Everything's starting to turn and essentially mix around in there. And what that means is the foods that you have just eaten will digest a lot better, because all the enzymes that you have in your stomach to help you digest foods can get to those foods a lot more effectively, rather than waiting for them to slowly make their way through the stomach. So that is something to just bear in mind for the future, especially if you've had a large meal. I would always recommend get moving right after it. So it's not time to have my meal 3 just yet. However, I am cooking potatoes, so they tend to take, well, at least the way I like to do them at the moment, they take about 25 minutes or so. So I'm going to show you how I do them in order to get the crispiest, flipping out my head, but yeah, the crispiest, that's not a word, is it? The most crispy, oh, is crispiest a word? I don't know. Someone tell me in the comments below. But yeah, like roast sort of potatoes they can do in the air fryer that do not use any sort of oil or fat of any sort. What I've done here is I've cut up my potatoes. I'm going to submerge this in water and put it in the microwave for 5 minutes. Alternatively, what I'd rather do most of the time is I'd put it on a hob in water and boil them. But I'm not going to lie, I've got other things to do and I've not got time to be sat here watching my potatoes. So I'm going to chuck them in the microwave for 5 minutes for them to soften before I'm going to put them in the air fryer. So my potatoes are cooked. I am going to drain the water from them, which I'm going to try and do one-handedly now. Ooh, not to burn myself. Now, the key to good potatoes is once you've drained them, toss them around. So you want to toss them around to kind of get that starch moving. So if you want nice, fluffy, roast potatoes that are like nice and crispy, that's key. I'm going to show you what these look like now. So you can see they've broken up just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is literally put them in a tray in the air fryer. And I'm going to use a little bit of Dash seasoning. So this one is the garlic and herb one. Sorry, it's Mrs. Dash, isn't it? Well, Dash. But yeah, these are salt-free, which are absolutely amazing. So I'm going to put that on my potatoes. I got this in America, actually, when I went to Vegas. I need to order some more, but they're absolutely extortionate in the UK. So I need to find somewhere where I can get them, or if anyone from America would like to send me some over, let me know. But yes, I'm going to chuck these in the air fryer at 200 degrees for 20 to 23 minutes. And the key here is at least twice whilst they are cooking, toss them around. Literally move the air fryer drawer and just literally shuffle it around just to toss the potatoes around like you would move them in the oven as well. What I've just done now, you could easily do in an oven. You might need a little something to keep them a little bit, I don't want to say the word, but moist. So using something like a few sprays of Fry Light or like an avocado oil spray, which I absolutely love but I've run out of, would be perfect in this situation. So what I do when I have my chicken meal, I've done my potatoes. With my chicken, I actually pre-prep my protein, or on some occasions, for example, I'll pre-prep it, put it in with seasoning in the fridge and just cook it as I'm about to cook so that I can have it fresh. But I'll weigh it before I've cooked it, weigh it after I've cooked it, so I know exactly what the difference is from from raw to cooked. And then when it comes to actually having my meal, rather than microwaving it and having it soggy and not very, very nice, I've got my chicken in here. I've cut up my veg in here as well. So I've got 100 grams of veg. And I'm just going to chuck it on the pan with some seasoning, heat it up. My potatoes, I've got some avocado to add to that as well. And it's just so much more enjoyable to eat rather than, like I said, microwaving it, for example. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to cut up my pineapple as well because I have pineapple with this meal. And yeah, I really, really love this meal. It's chicken and potatoes, but it's not boring. I could eat it every single day, and I do. So there's that. I have now sorted out my pineapple. I've got my portion here, and the rest I've literally just cut up and I'm going to put in Tupperware in the fridge, and that's going to keep for a few days. So for the next few days I don't even have to worry about having to sort it out. It literally took a few minutes. Now I've got my chicken and veggies here that are just cooking. What I do in order for things not to go super dry whilst I'm cooking them, I add a little bit of water. The veggies soften, chicken doesn't get super dry, and I don't have to use loads of oil. What I do with the pan is I will put a little drizzle of oil on there and wipe away with a tea towel, or use something like a few sprays of Fry Light. So literally minimum extra calories in order to reheat it and cook it. So that's nearly done. I'm going to put my potatoes in my bowl, sort out my avocado as well, and that'll be that meal done. Look how beautiful these potatoes are. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it. Nice and crispy outside, the nice and soft inside as well. Just absolutely perfect. And there we go. This is my meal number 3. Any of the weights that I give you as well are raw weights. So this is 100 grams potatoes, 125 grams chicken, 100 grams veggies, 40 grams avocado. I've got 50 grams of pineapple. I've got salt and pepper on here. And I've done a small drizzle of French's mustard and low sugar, low salt ketchup as well. And that is it. Nice, tasty, warm, not reheated in a microwave, and literally took me a few minutes. I am about to make my meal 4. And when it comes to the kind of first bit of prep for that meal, it's exactly the same as the chicken meal because I have potatoes and I want to have my potatoes the exact same way because I enjoy them that way. So I've already chucked them in the microwave or microwave, as some people would say. I've already put that in there, but for this meal I actually have salmon and some slightly different veg, so I'm going to show you how I make all of that. So I'm going to put my salmon in the air fryer. With salmon, I find the key to have a nice crispy skin because you've got to eat the skin. That's where all the good stuff is. But in order to keep a nice and crispy skin is to put it in sideways so the skin is exposed. That makes it super crispy. I am, however, going to wash my hands because I've picked it up with my hands and I don't want fishy hands. But yeah, in order to get that nice and crispy skin, it's all about placing the salmon sideways and then seasoning it. Jesus Christ, using the right seasoning to make it taste awesome. And for me, it's super simple. Garlic, paprika, sprinkle of aromat, and that is it. When I tell you that combo has never ever failed me, and with my salmon, it just, it tastes phenomenal. Once I put this on my salmon, I am going to chuck it in for about 104. Jesus Christ, I can't get my words out. I'm going to chuck it at about 180 degrees for about 18 minutes. I don't want to completely dry out the salmon. I want it to have a nice and crispy skin. I want the top of it to be quite nice and crispy, but I want the inside to still be nice and soft. I don't want dry as salmon, and I found this works perfectly for me, so I'm going to chuck that on. A little bit closer to the time finishing it on the air fryer, I am going to start on my veg. So for this meal, what I use, because not that I'm lazy, but I found if I was to buy this veg on its own without like the pre-packaged stuff, it goes off too quickly and I don't use it in time. So what I've started doing is Tesco does these essentially stir fry sort of mixes. Tenderston broccoli, onions, carrots, pea things. I can't say that. That's French, isn't it? But it's got bok choy in it, or pak choy, however you say it. I don't actually use the broccoli. Broccoli doesn't agree with me too much. But what I do instead is I have some asparagus to go with that. And I just have 100-gram mix. And I find around a half a packet ends up being, well, around 100 grams without me having the broccoli and adding the asparagus in. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to cook it in a pan to have with my salmon and potatoes. What I do in terms of veggies, I actually add a little bit of garlic powder and light soy sauce, as in like lower salt soy sauce, literally a few drops of that, and that makes it nice and flavoursome to have with my meal. And there we go. This is my meal number 4. 100 grams of potatoes, 120 grams of salmon, 100 grams of veggies, salt, pepper, and some sriracha on top. So, back when we were eating a little bit more, when I was in prep, I would often add some rice cakes. Flipping heck. I'm going to keep this in because this is what my brain does apparently. But I used to have rice flakes in my cream of rice just to give it a little bit more texture. Gaz used to do that as well. And essentially he set up a subscription, which he forgot to cancel, which means now that we're not eating as many rice flakes, we've got loads and loads of bags of rice flakes just lying around. So I've been thinking about trying to use them up for something. And I love baking. So I've thought, I'll give it a go and try and make them into something. So I'm going to make some bars. If you are seeing this, they may have worked out, maybe they're not too bad. If this is an absolute fail, it might not actually make it to the video. Who knows? We shall see. And I hope you can actually hear me because this was turned into my chest, so you might just hear my heart beating. And Peach is throwing herself out the door. So what I'm going to do is let her in and just crack on. This is what this currently looks like. I'm kind of trying to figure it out as I go, so we'll see whether that works. It's very liquidy at the moment. I think I've added too much cashew milk, but we shall see. Trial and error. I don't think I actually in the end said what I was making. So I have attempted making these oat flake banana bite slices things. They've just come out the oven, and I mean, we'll see. I'll cut them up in a bit, but I'll let them cool for now. This is what they're looking like right now. It's nice and golden. I'll cut them up into little slices, probably sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon on top, and we shall see whether they're any good. I think they're cooked through. I need to double check. I've just cut my slices and I put a little bit of cinnamon on them as well. Gaz is going to try the first one in just a minute, so we shall see the verdict. Ooh. Can you see that? Nice.
Like flapjacks, don't they? Is it apple in these?
No, banana.
Oh yeah. Could be an apple.
Could be.
Proper banana bread. It's good. It's like banana bread.
Nice. Perfect.
Let them cool a bit more.
Yeah, they just need to cool. Lovely stuff. So it's time for last meal of the day. I have oats with fruit, with yogurt, isolate, nut butter, and I like to make it into like a layered, I call it an oat trifle. So I make my oats first, and I'd add my fruit in there as well. So I'm going to do that, and I'll show you how I finish it off. So my oats are done. So see, they're a little bit wobbly, but they're on the thicker-ish side. I use frozen berries that I add into this, which I'm going to do now. I don't like to mix my berries in. Like I said, I'm making a layered trifle thing. I smooth it out to get a nice layer. Then it's time for yogurt. Ugh, I hate taking that little film off Greek yogurt. Ugh, hate it. It's just unpleasant. So I use the 0% Fie. That's my favourite. I know what I'm getting then. So I've got 300 grams of that I put on top. Bang on. And then it's time for isolate. So I only have 10 grams. And what I do is I'm actually using, I didn't tell you what I'm using. I'm using the Naughty Boy caramel biscuit one that I bought to try. And it's actually really, really great. I really like it. So I put that on. And essentially I try and just mix it with the yogurt layer, but I purposely do like an okay job. So you still get little bits of powder, like not pockets of it, but you get a little bit, if that makes sense. Just so it's like different textures. Call me weird. That's kind of how I like doing it. So I literally just mix it on the top with the oats being the way they are, like slightly on the thicker side, like I said. You can pretty much do this without disturbing those. So mix the yogurt. I smooth that out. And this is my last meal done. I'm not sure if you can see, like I said, my little trifle layer going on. So I've got my oats with frozen berries. So 50 grams of oats, 100 grams of berries. I do 50 blueberries, 50 raspberries. I've got 300 grams of 0% Greek yogurt, 10 grams of whey isolate, and 20 grams of nut butter right on the top. And there is my last meal. I'm going to enjoy this now. Sit down, relax, maybe watch something with Gaz if we've got time. It is quite late, but yeah, just chill, eat that last meal and go to bed. So I'm going to pop up the whole day totals for what I have eaten today in my 5 meals on the screen. Like I said, this is something that works for me, my body. You know, this is something that puts me in a deficit together with the additional expenditure that I'm doing. So things like cardio, steps. So just because this works for me doesn't mean that it will work for you. Your needs, your body's needs might be completely different. However, it might give you an idea as to what sort of things you could be eating, you know, what sorts of different variety of meals you can have during a day, and to showcase that bodybuilding diet doesn't need to be boring. It doesn't need to be a, you know, fish on the rice cake. It doesn't need to be chicken and rice. You know, there is so much variety they can have in your meals. You just need to put a little bit of effort into them and essentially try and make them nice. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please remember to share, like, subscribe. Most importantly, subscribe. And let me know, what else would you like to see from me? What sorts of videos would you like to see come in? Any sort of special requests? Please let me know down in the comments below. But until then, I will see you in the next one.